Thank you so much. Honorable members, we have come to a point where we must administer oath on our witness. We must take this opportunity and thank you, General Masemola, for making a return to this ad hoc committee. Our evidence leaders would have spoken to you that previously when we invited you to come here was because you are the head of the South African Police Services as an institution. And we have invited you here to come and make an open statement on how you understand the institution of the SAPS and how matters that would have been raised by General Mkhwanazi would have come to your attention. And since you left, there were witnesses that came here before us, after you, and they would have made statements. And we felt that it is fair that we call you back to come and respond to some of the statements that would have been made, but also enrich whatever presentation you would have made previously and clarify certain matters to establish a better understanding for the committee. So for that, we want to thank you so much. Before we administer oath, I'm going to give the evidence leaders to pass any remarks if they have. Advocate Arendse.
Thank you, Honorable Chair, Honorable Members. Also, sincere condolences to Honorable Malema on the passing of his family member. And our thoughts and prayers will remain with them throughout the past couple of months, I'd say, as almost like a family. They've grown closer. All the members on the committee, so a loss to anyone on the committee is also lost to all of us. Thank you, Chair. I don't have any additional comments other than just to remind us that I did mention in the previous committee meeting that General Masemola and General Mkhwanazi, who's appearing tomorrow, will not have before them an additional or supplementary or further affidavit for the reasons that are discussed. If I recall, that appears to have been accepted by the honourable members. We have forwarded a list of thematic questions to perhaps assist the members in terms of their own questioning that will come later. It will track our questioning will track the terms of reference of this committee, and also then focus particularly on a number of witnesses that we've indicated. Minister Mkhunu, his Chief of Staff, Cedric Aminde, General Sabia, Honorable Adams, Matlala, O'Sullivan, Mokgotsi, Lieutenant General Sintumile, Lieutenant General Vuma, and we also just briefly want to add, I think it was his designation, Brigadier Shlungwani, who had also given evidence before the committee and who made, these are all witnesses who would have made allegations against General Masemola that requires comment, and that gives him an opportunity to respond to those allegations. And I'm sure honorable committee members will also have other questions for him to respond to. But we thank him for being here. He's spent many hours with us in the past week or so. And sometimes he hasn't been well. He's got a very busy schedule, so we thank him. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much. General, this is just a matter of formality. As we saw you in, I know that previously when you were here, these remarks were made, but I just have to remind you that we have invited you here to give evidence before this committee, which is the ad hoc committee investigating the allegations that have been made by General Ntanta Mkhwanazi, the Provincial Police Commissioner of KwaZulu-Natal Province, with the hope that the information or evidence that you are going to give here shall help the committee in its investigative and oversight work. The allegations include, amongst others, the alleged unlawful disbandment of the Political Killings Task Team, otherwise known as the PKTT or NPKTT. Number two, the alleged moratorium on the filling of vacancies within the South African Police Services, the SAPS. And number three, alleged corrupt relationship between members of the public and senior leadership of the SAPS. And lastly, alleged political interference in the work of the SAPS. And let me remind you that the information that you will be providing with us here is regulated under the powers, privileges, and immunities of Parliament and Provincial Legislatures Act, which guides the oath that you will be taking. And once again, be informed that by law you are required to fully answer fully and satisfactorily all the questions lawfully put to you, or to produce any document that you may be required to do so in connection with the subject matter of this inquiry, notwithstanding the fact that the answer or the document could incriminate you or expose you to criminal or civil proceedings or even damages. I remind you that you are, however, protected in that evidence given under oath or affirmation before a House or a Committee of Parliament may not be used against you or in any court or place outside Parliament, except in criminal proceedings concerning a charge of perjury or a charge relating to the evidence or documents required in these proceedings. General Masemola, please be reminded that in terms of Section 17, subsection 2 of the Powers, Privileges and Immunities of Parliament and Provincial Legislatures Act, a person who willfully furnishes a House or a Committee of Parliament with information or makes a statement before it which is false or misleading commits an offence and is liable to a fine or to imprisonment for a period not exceeding 2 years. With those remarks made, let me check with you if you would prefer to take an oath or affirmation.
I'll take an affirmation, Honorable Chair.
Thank you so much. You have elected to take an affirmation. May you please say aye and state your names in full.
I Sihlahle Fannie Masemola,
Solemnly affirm that the evidence I shall give
solemnly affirm that the evidence I shall give
shall be the truth,
shall be the truth,
the whole truth,
the whole truth,
and nothing but the truth.
and nothing but the truth.
Thank you so much.
So I affirm.
Yes, thank you so much. Advocate Arendse,
Thank you, Honorable Chair.
how much time would you need together with General Masemola to conclude your part?
If we're going to break at 1 o'clock, yeah. And for 1 o'clock.
You request to run until 1 o'clock.
Yes, please, Chair.
Okay. That is granted.
Thank you.
I want to take this opportunity and wish you good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, General. I asked you whether, since you last appeared, whether there was anything in your affidavit that you submitted to this honorable committee or in your oral evidence subsequently, if there's any thing that you wanted to amend or change or correct that might be material. And so I'm just, you highlighted one aspect with me, and that's the issue relating to Brigadier Mokweli, who's also the subject of an issue involving Lieutenant General Khumalo. Just by way of background for the Honorable Committee, Brigadier Mokweli had previously been employed by BMW and had subsequently been appointed to a position in crime intelligence, and that resulted in a complaint being laid with Anthea Johnson, IDEC, sorry, with IDEC, and which led then to the arrest of Lieutenant General Khumalo. So just on that, one of the honorable committee members had asked you a question, I forget who it was now, whether Brigadier Mokweli is related to any senior official within SAPS. And you recall that your response was, to my knowledge, no. Do you want to comment on that and perhaps expand on that response?
Yeah, thanks, Honorable Chairperson. Yeah, indeed, there was one member that asked me that question as to whether Brigadier Mokweli is related to any of the senior officials in SAPS, which I said, to my knowledge, no, and according to General Khumalo also is a no. But however, I have since established from General Khumalo himself that after they were arrested and back, in one of his management meeting, where Brigadier Mokweli was also in attendance, some members of his team were in that meeting, and he thanked the team for arresting a Brigadier Mokajane and a captain from Belabela for some crime that happened around Belabela with the councillors there. So he thanked the team for doing a good job, well done. And he said that then subsequent to that, during the break of that meeting, one of his management members came to him to say, to alert to him that he think what he did was, there's nothing wrong with it, but he think maybe it was just too much to say in front of Brigadier Mokweli to thank the team and praise them the way he did. Then he asked, but why? And that person said, but Brigadier Mokweli is the biological child of the Brigadier Mohajane that is thanking the team for arresting him. Where this member was saying, the member didn't mind General Khumalo thanking the team, but he could have done it not in front of the child. And Khumalo said, but me, I didn't know that he's a child of the brigadier we arrested. So I didn't know. And he said he apologized to Brigadier Mukweli in that meeting, of which Brigadier Mukweli said, no, but there's nothing wrong. You did your work, it's fine. But the apology is not about the arrest. The apology was just that maybe it's a bit too harsh to do that in front of the child. That's how then he became aware of that Brigadier Mukweli is a child of Brigadier Mohajani, even though he's not probably from the same mother, but he's a biological child. Thank you.
Thank you. So the answer perhaps should have been yes, but only if it was brought to your knowledge or to your attention. Thank you. Now, a focus of our hearings has been the minister on leave now. He's directive of 31 December 2024, directing that PKTT should be disbanded immediately, and the subsequent 6th of July media conference called by Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi, which is related to that directive. Now, you testified that you learned of firstly, you were on leave at the time when the directive was issued on 31 December 2024. And you learned of the directive only on the 2nd of January 2025 via WhatsApp from, is it Lieutenant General Sabola? Major General Sabola.
Yeah, that is correct, Honorable Chair.
And at that time, we know that Lieutenant General Mosakidi was the acting National Commissioner while you were on leave. Did you hear from her at all about the directive?
Yeah, according to her, she did phone me during that time also to inform me about the directive.
Okay. Did she discuss it with you, or did she just inform you that there's just arrived a directive from the minister, which is addressed to you? Did you have any discussion about it?
Yeah, she did inform me that there is this directive, and same way as I said to Sebola and General Sebia that there is still time in the directive. Feedback is required by 20th of January. So start compiling those reports. I will see those reports when I come back on the 14th of January 2025.
Yeah. Now, we also know that your evidence has been that prior to the minister issuing that directive, he had not spoken to you about it. He didn't consult you about it. Didn't ask you about it, what your thoughts were. Is that still your evidence?
Thanks, Honorable Chairperson. Yes, it is still my evidence that the minister never consulted with me about the directive, or even before he issued the directive. And I can add that I was with the minister for most of that week because there was a festive season and we normally do operations together. And I do remember during the week or so, or a week before, I think on the 21st or so, we had a funeral together in Hammersdale in Mpumalanga, where we're burying one of the police members. And then on the 27th of January, No, 27th of December, we were together at Nongoma, Kwamusi, where we were resolving a community dispute. Two communities had a problem where, to such an extent that the school has to close. So we were there, we spent the day there together. And subsequently, the following day, which is the 28th, we again spent the day together at Escalene in Richards Bay, where we were burying one of our captains there, and we parted there. So it's not stage. Still, I stand by what I said. It's no stage. Did he hint or indicate that there is this imminent disbandment of the PKTT?
So just to summarize, you saw him on the 21st of December, where you together attended a funeral in Hammarsdale,
next to Mpumalanga in KZN.
And then you also saw him again on the 27th of December at Kwamushe village. There was it was actually a ministerial engagement with the community.
Yeah, it was ministers engaging the community there at Kwamusi in Nongoma.
And then on the 28th at a funeral at Epangeni.
Yeah, the 28th were together, myself, the minister, and the provincial commissioner KZN at Escalene, where we had the funeral of one of our captains.
And collectively, you would have spent quite a bit of time, although I suppose when one attends, especially funerals, it's quiet and you tend not to engage, but there would have been ample opportunity to discuss a matter of this importance.
Yeah, I take it that there was ample opportunity to discuss the matter if there was such a urgent matter like the disbanding of the PKTT, and that was never. There was no discussion. There was no hint whatsoever.
In fact, on the 24th of December, you also engaged virtually. There was an online meeting that the minister called regarding the Medicare 24 contract with Mr. Matlala. That meeting would have been called as a result of the media, the media or concerns raised in the media about the award or what was then alleged to be the irregular awarding of the contract to Mr. Matlala.
Yeah, that is correct, Honorable Chair. On the 24th December 2024, yes, we did have a virtual meeting where we were discussing the contract of Medicare 24, which that's where the minister raised concerns that there were some articles in the newspapers about this contract. So we had a meeting on the 24th, and still in that meeting or after, there was never at any given point where the minister spoke to me about the imminent disbandment of PKTT.
What was the status of the Medicare 24 contract at that stage on the 24th of December 2024? Had it been awarded already?
Yeah, it has been awarded already. I think it was awarded somewhere May, June of the same year, 2024.
18th of June, yes.
Yes, it was a contract that was running, and it was just taken off. And well, there were some reports from the end users, which are various divisions, that there is a problem of service delivery. I think even prior to that meeting, there was a meeting between the supplier, people from Medicare 24, together with my officials, where they had meetings about service delivery by Medicare 24, which was not satisfactory.
At that stage, the contract having been awarded, was it within the minister's authority to question the award, or to have it set aside, or to hold an inquiry into the award of the contract?
No, it's not within his authority to award or do that. But however, he is a minister of police. If he come across information that points something wrong with the contract, it is right for him to alert us or me, the subs management, that this is what I pick up, and so that we can provide the necessary answers.
And subsequently, we know there was an internal audit of that.
Yeah,
that then highlighted, we know from the evidence of General Fannie.
Yeah, out of that meeting, I then said, no, I will task the internal audit of the subs to go and audit the contract, which they did. The first report, I think it came out somewhere in January, a preliminary report. And then subsequent to that, there was a final report that came out, I think somewhere in March, which subsequently, based on the final report, I eventually in April, I think it's April, I eventually then cancelled the contract.
I know we're digressing a bit, but on the 24th of December, was Mr. Matlala's name specifically mentioned in that meeting?
Yes, it was mentioned. Yes, correct. It was mentioned that Medicaid 24 is Mr. Matlala.
And as at that date, 24 December 2024, did you know Mr. Matlala? Had you met him before?
No, I didn't know him, and I didn't met him before also. Not at all.
So the name Matlala didn't mean anything to you?
No, it did not mean anything to me. I didn't know him at all. No, met him.
Okay. All right. So then just fast forward. We know the minister didn't raise PKTT with you at all, despite what we've now discussed, several opportunities to do so, and we're moving now into January. You also heard from, was it telephonically on WhatsApp, from General Nkonazi? Did you also hear from Lieutenant General Khumalo? This is now all in early January about the directive?
Yeah, I received, I think, WhatsApp from Sibula sending me the directive. As I said, I think in my previous evidence, I open it, look at it, scan it, but then close it, because initially I didn't take it as a serious or real matter. And but then subsequently, on the 2nd or 3rd, I did get a call from Lieutenant General Mkonazi, and thereafter I did get a call from General Musikidi. I also did get a call from General Sibia, and they were talking more or less the same thing, asking me about the directive, and I told them, I don't know about the directive, I'm not aware of it. And after then looking at what is required in the directive, that's why I saw that the first report is required 20th of January. Then I said, let the relevant people draft those reports. I will produce those reports when I came back. I didn't inquire or phone the minister that time, and I didn't want to.
So you returned to office on the 14th of January?
That's correct, yeah. I returned to the office 14th of January, yes.
And was it on that day or the next day, the 15th, that General Sabia came to see you?
No, he came to see me on the very same 14th of January when I arrived, because I remember the morning part that day, I never even went to office. I flew from Wanarbuam to Mpumalanga, because you remember it was that time when there was a bit of turmoil in Mozambique. There was after elections, so there were a lot of people flooding, sort of running away from Mozambique. So we had to address the situation at the port of entry. Myself and other DGs, we spent the day at Lebombo that day. So I only went to the office in the afternoon of the 14th of January. No, yes. So as I arrived in the afternoon, must be about 5 o'clock in the afternoon. That's when General Sevilla then came to me with a letter, the report that I said they must draft while I was on leave. He came with that. Couple of letters that he said I must, is the report going to minister, some going to Sintumul and General Kumar that I must sign. That's where as I went through the report, I saw that it talks about same as the directive of the Minister of Immediate Disbandment. Then I engaged General Sibia in terms of how I would want to approach the matter, which I said, I'm not going to do it as a immediate disbandment. Rather, I would want, if ever at all we do it, we should wind down the team, not do it abruptly so. And that's why I said, General Sibia, go back and redraft something that will wind down the team and the work over a period. And
And the draft letter, was it? Did you request it?
no, I requested a plan that must go to the minister. That is the reply of the minister of, that is in his letter, that you want a progress report by the 20th of January.
But did you request it from him or from Lieutenant General Kumalo, who's the...
No, originally, remember when I was on leave, I said they must do the reports. When I came back, he came to me to say, this is the report, because General Kumalo reports to him. And subsequently, after I said he must stop doing the report on the 15th, that's when I directly then asked General Kumalo. I explained to him the same way I explained to General Sibia. I explained to Kumalo to say, do for me a plan that will involve the winding down of a team over a period. I must also maybe go back a bit to say, on the first day, when General Sibia came to me with that, as we were discussing, how should this be done? I think it's on my evidence, I'll repeat it, that he also alluded to me that no, we can disband the PKTT same way as they disbanded the Scorpions, because he was a member of the Scorpions when the Scorpions were still there. That's why I asked him, how was the Scorpion disbanded? And then he said to me, no, they were called into the office, that everyone must come with his talkers, and they went into the office. And they said, bring your docket. They counted the dockets, registered them in a register. And from there, they gave you a station or branch or unit where you must go and work. And in other words, you leave the dockets, you go report there. And he says that's how the Scorpion was disbanded. And then I told him that, no, but that, for me, that's very irresponsible. You don't even know what is in the dockets, what is happening. And you just pack the dockets on the table, you say, people must go. I says, no, I'm not going to do that irresponsible way. I will do it my way. And my way is this way of winding down. So I don't know what your Scorpion plan. Go and do the plan, my plan of winding down, coming with a proposal of winding down the team. And then the next day when he came, when I look at it, scan it, well, I didn't read the whole thing, scan it, I find that it still emphasized this immediate disbandment. That's when I said, no, looks like you, for some reason, maybe you don't understand me, what I'm saying. Then hence I tasked Khumalo to do same, and then Khumalo drafted the report, which myself and legal service later come and vetted and improve on it and sign off and then gave to the minister.
And that was on the 22nd when you gave that report to the minister.
Yeah, that was 22nd of January.
And that report was drafted, or you assisted Lieutenant General Khumalo?
Yeah, he started with the draft, but I finalized it myself with legal services.
Did you get any acknowledgement of receipt or response to the report submitted to Minister Mkhunu at the time?
Well, acknowledgement, of course, we hand delivered it to the Chief of Staff, so there was acknowledgement of receipt. I didn't email it because there was that time this problem of documents leaking, so there was acknowledgement of the document by the Chief of Staff, but response or feedback, no, I didn't get any feedback from the minister.
Then on the 1st of February, you met with the president. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct, Honorable Chair. I did meet the president.
What were the circumstances of meeting? Was it a chance meeting? Was it an arranged meeting? Did you have an appointment with him? And was it specifically about this issue?
No, it was an arranged meeting which I requested from the president, and the agenda was to talk basically about the disbandment of the PKTT, where I alerted him that there is this thing that is happening, and the PKTT has been disbanded, and we don't know why. And well, he said he looked surprised, and he said, well, he didn't know, and after explaining to him, he said he will talk to the minister. And I left thereafter.
Where was that meeting, and for how long was that meeting? Was it in-person meeting?
Yeah, it was in-person meeting. Yeah.
Where was that meeting?
It was at Waterkloof Air Force Base.
And for how long did you meet with the president?
Must have been an hour.
So an hour is quite a long time. Well, what kind of exchange did you have with him? Did he ask questions? Did he ask for details? Did you explain to him?
Well, remember, I explained to him what is PKTT, how he started, reminding him, and he remembered how he started when he was in Maritzburg at Kashanam Kunu's family, and how he put together the IMC, how the team was established, how they then went on to do the work and break through. So I explained to him the work of the team. And yes, then thereafter I left.
What was your impression when you left after you met with the president? Was your impression that he was listening sympathetically? Did he appear to be supportive of not disbanding the PKTT?
Well, the impression is quite a difficult thing to guess, but the first thing when I told him about this, as I said, he was quite taken aback because he wasn't aware, and I told him that this team is doing good work and it's still going on. We still have political killings problem in that province, and now this is happening. Yes, so the impression is he did listen to me what I was saying, and he said he will speak to the minister.
Did the president get back to you after that meeting on the 1st of February?
No, he didn't get back to me, and of course, I didn't expect him also. I expected that at some point after speaking to the minister, maybe the minister will get back to me or engage me.
Did you meet with the minister anytime after that meeting?
Yeah, we met. We did meet. Yeah, one of the meetings. One of the meetings I think we met was somewhere in February. Still in February. Yes, we met a couple of times. I can't recall the exact numbers, but we did meet.
We know you did meet. You had the online meeting with the portfolio committee on the 5th of March, and then you had that in-person meeting on the 6th of March.
Oh yes,
where the minister was present. Correct. But before that, did you meet in February?
Yeah, I think February we met here at the province of Western Cape with the executive, the EXCO from head office, where we were just briefing the minister and the deputy ministers on the work that we are doing. So the various directorate, I take him through what work we are doing, both by overview of the work we are doing, and then thereafter visible policing. Lieutenant General did some presentation, and thereafter the detectives, General Sebea did some presentation also, and General Nkua spoke about all med support related matters.
Yeah, that was on the 6th of February.
Yeah, I think the 6th of February.
General Sentumile also referred to that meeting. Although she referred to it, she wasn't in the meeting. She was supposed to be in the meeting.
Yes.
But she had a bereavement that day, so she wasn't in the meeting.
Yeah, no, she wasn't. She didn't attend that meeting. Yeah. She had a bereavement.
But in that meeting, PKTT wasn't on the agenda and wasn't discussed.
No, it wasn't on the agenda and it wasn't discussed. We discussed general performance of the SAPs, and also we did the crime statistics.
Sure. But just before that meeting, there was a letter from General Sebea. You recall that letter?
The letter?
On the 4th of February.
Yeah, the letters, I became aware of them at a later date. Yeah. Yes.
Okay. All right. Now, a broader question. In his evidence, Minister Mkhunu said that you did not disagree with the disbandment of the PKTT. Instead, he says you actioned it as he expected you to do. And you only differed on the when and the how of the disbandment and how the directive should be implemented.
Yeah, firstly, let me say, after I came back from leave, I did ask the minister to engage him on the PKTT, and he did not give that audience. He said, firstly, let's get the report properly. After I came back on the 14th, I recall that there was, at that time, there was a lot of media articles about, negative media articles about crime intelligence. And me, I did engage him. I did call him to say, I want us to discuss about the PKTT. And then he said, submit the report first. And then immediately after that, I can't recall whether it's the same day, but later he called me back where we discussed about the negative media articles about CI, where he said he wants to appoint the council to investigate these things that are in the media about crime intelligence. Especially it was the employment of various senior managers. I think Mukwili is one of them, Brigadier Khalanyani, and I think others. And there was also the issue of the killing of Cindy Somakaka. I can't remember all of them. So then that's where I said to him on the phone that, do you remember that I asked you that we need to brief you in detail about matters of crime intelligence. You must make time, which we have yet made time up to now. You can appoint your senior counsel, but bear in mind that that senior counsel is going to take the information that we have and just give it to you. So what is the value of buying your own information that is readily available to you? So you make time, we come and we brief you for free. Don't have to buy it through a senior counsel. Then he said, okay. Then he said, no, you'll make time, which then we agreed that we shall meet on the 16th of January. And 16th January, we both went to a funeral in Putadichawa to bury a police official there. When we came back in the evening, 1800, myself and Timsan Kumalu, we went and met him, and we discussed those matters of crime intelligence. That's where, for the first time, General Kumalu briefed him about Project Q in Gauteng. And I touched the PKTT, then he says, no, the PKTT, let's wait until the report we'll discuss. Then we left. So, yes.
Did you not meet at all before the portfolio committee presentation that was made by Lieutenant General Kumalo?
I'm talking under correction. We might have met to, normally when we go for such meeting, we do meet and brief him on what is going to the portfolio committee. So here, I'm not sure. Sometime we meet, sometime we don't meet. So here, I definitely not sure whether we met or not. Mm-hmm. But yes, we did go to portfolio committee. The 5th, we had a meeting at the portfolio committee. The 6th, we met again physically then here at the province. Myself, General Sibia, General Sintumule, General Msikidi, General Kumalo, Chief of Staff Ngabinde, and there was a Lieutenant Colonel also there. I think Mr. Pikoli was also there, Advocate Pikoli.
So on the 5th of March, when Lieutenant General Kumalo presented to the portfolio committee, that effectively was a sort of a winding down of the PKTT and not an immediate disbandment.
Yeah, the plan that we presented there was a winding down and showing the work of the PKTT. But remember, Minister have not yet says he agreed to that.
Yeah, that's why I asked whether the approach was not before you make a presentation to the portfolio committee, you discuss these things and perhaps agree them or indicate some disagreement, or indicate that a plan is still or something is still in a planning phase and it hasn't been resolved yet.
Yeah, well, by then, the PKTT was not yet dissolved, and there was no indication there that we will dissolve it immediately. It was more to say we'll be winding it down. That's the presentation that we put before the portfolio committee.
But the disagreement between you and Lieutenant General Khumalo on the one hand, and the minister and his chief of staff and Kabinde and Sabia on the other hand, that then manifests at the meeting on the 6th.
Yeah, on the meeting of the 6th, that's where the difference became quite very clear. I must state that at that meeting of the 6th, when the minister opened that meeting, that's where I said to the minister, Minister, these are the senior managers of SAPS. Can you take them into your confidence? What are the reasons that you are disbanding this team? Just tell us so that we know, because we are going on. It's an instruction. It's not a request, remember. It's a directive that I must comply with, but we don't know why we are doing it. Can you tell us why we are doing it? Right at the beginning of the meeting, he never answered that question. He continued to say, let presentations be done. And later in the meeting, and then he indicated that no, one of the reasons why this team must be disbanded is that there is no political killings. Political killings were pre-1994. For now there is just killings. That was his response in between the meeting. But in that meeting, yes, that's where there was a clear difference where myself, Msikidi, and Khumalo said, well, you are doing it, but let's do it in this fashion. And that's where then there was General Sibia and the Chief of Staff saying no, but in the plan actually it was indicated that, okay, it will be disbanded in various forms of a winding down. And the dockers of the team will go to the provincial serious and violent crime, or commonly called murder and robbery unit, that is being newly established at the province. But these dockers will go there. And there was quite a long discussion and arguments where General Sibi and Gavinde, I remember, they even said, but if you take dockets of this team, because I said, take the dockets and members of PKTT from the KZN, we take them, they form the provincial murder and robbery unit, they fill up the numbers there and they continue the case. I remember well when Gavinde said, but Minister says disbandment. That is not disbandment. You are just shifting the dockets and the members of PKTT. And you want to have PKTT under a different name, which is serious and violent crime under the Provincial Commissioner in KZN. And that is not the directive of the minister. The minister says disband. And General Sibia supported him that disband. And the dockers must go to police station of origin, where they come from. And if I link it up later, some days to come, you would recall when General Sintumile at some point told me that there are dockers at Pretoria and Mkonas is refusing them. Then I says, you and your boss, tell your boss to see to finish. It was based on that it cannot be that the same man who was fighting that dockers go to the station of origin in KZN. All of a sudden, then he bring dockers to Pretoria. It can't be, because he was fighting. I was saying, let the dockers go to province. And they says, no, they must go to the station of origin. And minister supported them that dockers must go back to station of origin. But I said, we cannot do that, because maybe you don't know, but as we know where we come from, that this didn't work before. And we had a team similar to this that was working, that was consisting of members from the province of KZN, which was a political Killing Stars team, which was led by the current deputy here in Western Cape, Major General Makashalala. He was still a brigadier then. He was in the KZN in DPCI. He led that team. And that team didn't really produce any results. When we went to go and check on them, couldn't find anything. Hence, in 2018, that decision was taken that we reestablish the team. We came with this current team where we take members from various provinces. And it was working. So that's why then on the meeting of the 6th, the argument was you can't take doggers to stations because we know that political killings, investigation at station level is a problem because local politicians start interfering with the investigators and sometimes they're afraid to talk. Whereas if we have members from all over the country, they have got no interest in politics in the province of KwaZulu-Natal. Not that members of KwaZulu-Natal have interest, but some members get tempted or they get influenced by politicians.
So after the meeting of the 6th, you had a further meeting on the 27th of March. And was it on the minister's instructions that you had to present an amended plan, different plan?
Yeah, the plan that was presented on the 27th, on the 6th of March here in Cape Town wasn't accepted. It was partially accepted.
Yeah.
Because the issue was it must be amended to include some of these things that dockers go to stations and whatever. So the expectation was the plan will be presented, the minister will sign it off. So it wasn't approved. And the next meeting was scheduled for 27 March at the Police Academy in Pretoria. And yes, then the presentation was done, but it didn't go long because in the process of that presentation, I think the minister picked up that the number of cases that the PKTT have increased with one docket. And he happened to know that that docket is from somewhere in Mandini, the killing of a councillor, which the docket was taken over by PKTT. And he was unhappy about that. And the meeting ended up abruptly and with a decision that now he will not meet anymore. And he doesn't understand why we don't want to disband this team. And that this team is still working. And in any way, that's where for the first time one heard that where he said, in any way, the president agreed that this team can be disbanded. It took a political decision to establish it. It will also take a political decision to disband it. And the meeting adjourned. And since then, we never engage on matters of PKTT with him.
But were you aware that the very next day, on the 28th of March, the dockets had now been or was being transferred to head office?
No. I wasn't aware. I became aware when Sintumule called me, but that was later, somewhere end of April or early May.
Yeah. Because subsequently, just less than a month later, on the 22nd of April, there was a letter from Lieutenant General Sabia giving directives about the dockets without obtaining your authority to do so.
Yeah, later one became aware of those. And of course, subsequently, I'm sure Honorable Chair will remember that subsequently then winding forward during May, because I remember all along we just saw this disbandment. We didn't know what is the reason for the disbandment, and one was trying to understand it. No clarity comes. A suggestion of winding down is not accepted, and yeah, but still, one did not disband the team until somewhere then in May, when after Matala was arrested. That's where the team, in his phone, they discovered all those messages, and where Mkhozi then was thinking or sending message to Matlala that the team that harassed you at your house is no more, so you have no worries. That's when we start really reflecting on all these things that were happening as to what exactly were we dealing with here. That's when we realized, no, this was a planned thing, meaning it is something that was planned from 6th of December 2024, after the arrest of Molefe and the search of Matlala's premises. So that's where we were now linking the directive of the 31st of December back to the 6th of December raid at Matlala's place, because Mkhozi sent in the directive and telling him that will not, the team is no more. And yeah, so that's when we started looking at all these things that has happened as to what it is. Then that's when we came to the conclusion that there is definitely a link between the directive, the disbandment, and what happened on the 6th. And of course, also bear in mind that by then, the part of the KZN PKTT was already in Gauteng, assisting Gauteng. So definitely the aim was to prevent them from further investigating the Gauteng cases.
At paragraph 7 of your affidavit, you had stated that it had come to your attention that Deputy National Commissioner Lieutenant General Sabia wrote letters reference 21/2/1/59 dated 17th of January, the 4th of February, and the 22nd of April, respectively, whereby he gave directives without first obtaining authority from you as the National Commissioner. This action violated the established protocol, which I regard as insubordination and is tantamount to defeating the ends of justice, as those directives were contrary to the implementation discussions which were held with the Minister of Police. I understood the mandate that was given by the IMC, it's the Interministerial Committee, to myself, the Prosecution Authority, the State Security and Correctional Services. Hence, I accepted that the proposal from Project Manager Lieutenant General Kumalo that all relevant authorities must first be engaged before such a disbandment is implemented.
Yeah, correct, Honorable Chair. Remember, the 22nd, I submitted a report to the Minister, a proposal. I expecting a response to say, I agree, yes or no. And in that meantime, nothing should happen, remember, until I get the response. And somewhere the Chief of Staff wrote a letter to say, meeting to discuss PKTT, 6th of March, Cape Town. And we come with a proposal as to what must happen to the PKTT. We present the plan get rejected or partially approved. So the next meeting, we say Pretoria, 27th of March. That is still discussion of the PKTT plan, because Minister said he will present the plan. If you agree, he will approve. We presented in Cape Town, he didn't agree, he referred us back. We go to Pretoria for 27th of March, which I explained how that meeting abruptly ended up. So all these processes are processes to finalize a plan that should be agreed upon, which minister will sign off. And only then one can do something about PKTT. You couldn't do any move in between. That's why those letters are ultra vires to what we are doing. We can't be planning somebody's executing around the corner, but we are still discussing the modalities as to how we are going to do it. Remember, we haven't yet agreed. I say gradual, minister says immediate.
And as at 27 March, that was still
Then
the
we-
case.
Then
There
we
was-
take Honorable James.
Thank you, Chair. Just for clarity, General, you told this committee that you have established a clear link between the 6th of December and the disbandment of the PKTT, right? And you also further say that the aim was to prevent them from investigating the Gauteng cases. The aim by who?
Well, from the communication that we saw on the charts between Mokotsi, Matala, and General Sibia, that's where we detected that here there is, of course, minister is also quoted or messages are being exchanged between him and Mokotsi and Matlala, Mokotsi in between them. That's when we realized that this group of people looks like their aim is to prevent the investigation of Gauteng cases. Reason being that if you look in those letters of Sibia, he ordered dockets from KZN and I think from evidence of Sintumule and General Dumisani Kumalo. Then the dockets came, they were checked. I don't know whether he checked them, yes or no. I presume he must have seen them. And because in those KZN docket, he couldn't find the GC Ops Gauteng dockets in there. He wrote further another letter. I just don't know, but it's one of those letters there, where he said again to Kumalo and Osintumule, he wants all dockets, including dockets that they were investigating in Gauteng. That is an indication that the objective is to get the GC Ops Gauteng dockets, which start with the killing of Amaswart and all other dockets in Gauteng. So it shows the intention was not necessarily to get dockets of PKTT KZN. It was to get the Gauteng dockets because he was given KZN dockets. He returned, well, he did what he did with them, left them, and he still wrote a letter to say, I want all dockets, including Gauteng GC Ops dockets.
GC Ops, that's Gauteng counterintelligence.
Yes, that's Gauteng counterintelligence investigation. Which we, yeah, thanks.
Thank you so much, General. I'm clear. Thank you, Chair.
Honorable Ngola.
Thanks, Chair. So generally, you establish this link and objective, but you still entrust General Sibia to preside over the winding down process.
Thanks, through you, Honorable Chair. Remember, this was not established by that time. This we established only in May after we have this chart from Matlala's Fu. Somewhere end of May, beginning June. That's when this is discovered. That's where then I said to the members that they just hinted to me that there is this that they have found. Then I said, okay, do the rest of the analysis so that we know exactly what is happening. And then thereafter, after we establish that, yes, there is these linkages and there seems to be this objective. That's when then at some point I wanted to see the minister to alert him that we have this problem. And that time never came. And eventually I made an appointment with the president. I briefed him that we have discovered that there is a problem on this matter. Hence, then the president said, okay, he is going to Brazil, but work on the report. When I come back, you brief me.
We can proceed.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Now, on the 25th of April, Lieutenant General Sentumile telephonically made contact with you, and she informed you that she had had a discussion with Lieutenant General Kunazi regarding his serious reservations about the dockets. And I just want to read back to you a verbatim evidence here. I remember saying to the National Commissioner that there was no way that we could disband a task team and replace it with another task team, as that would not make any operational sense. The National Commissioner advised that I engage with the DNC, presumably that's Sabia, and he must decide what to do with the dockets. The National Commissioner testified that at some point he told DNC that he heard that the dockets were at head office and instructed that the dockets be returned to their station of origin. I suppose when I called him to give him feedback of my conversation with Lieutenant General Kunazi, the National Commissioner realized that the dockets were still at head office. Hence he said, quote, your boss should decide what to do with those dockets, unquote. What is your comment on that?
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, on that, my comment is that yes, in Tumule at some point she did. I think it's end April or beginning May. She did call me and hinted on that, and I did say to her, well, there's no dockers that's supposed to be here from PKTT. If they are here, tell your boss to see what he does with those dockers. And I said that on the premise, remember that somebody was arguing on the 6th of March here in Cape Town, arguing that him, the minister, and Cetrin Kavinde, arguing that dockers must go to station of origin, cannot all of a sudden have dockers in Pretoria. And where he even took them from KZN without the provincial commissioner knowing. That's why I said, tell him to see what to do. And that's why Sintumule said, yeah, that's where the issue of the next task team came in. And subsequently, I think somewhere 7th, 8th of July, there was a submission to me by General Sabia and Sintumule, where they were proposing establishment of a national investigation team that will take the 121 dockers, go back to KZN and investigate them. The submission of number of personnel and the budget. And that submission I disapproved because I said it made no sense that you have a team in the province, PKTT, that was doing the work. Now you take the dockers, now I want to establish another team to go back to do the same thing. Hence I disapproved. And I then take measures to send those dockers back to KZN and approve the budget that they continue with those dockers. The PKTT continue the investigation of those dockers.
In fact, it reminds me of, I asked Lieutenant General Sabia, on what authority would you require the transfer of a docket from one province, either to head office or to another province? And his response was that he could do that because he was the head of detectives. Can you maybe very briefly just explain what is the protocol if a case is opened and there's a docket, say here in the Western Cape? Can it be taken, and if so, on what authority, on what basis can it be taken from the Western Cape to Gauteng or KZN or to head office in Pretoria? Is it allowed? Is it permissible?
Yeah, thanks, Honorable Chair. There are various ways in which that can happen. For example, let's say you encounter an incident in KZN or Gauteng, and you are in a hurry, you travel, you come to Cape Town. When you arrive here, you go to Cape Town Central, you want to open a case that somewhere in Dobsonville, when you were there in the morning, 1 to 3 happened. They will open the case here in Cape Town, but that docket will be transferred back to Dobsonville. The investigation will be done there. And normally then with other cases, if for some reason there are problems on the investigation of a case, either the complainant or somebody is not happy about how the investigation is being done, whether people are not objective in the investigation or whatever some reason, and the dockets needs to be moved. Dockets are registered at a police station. They belong to the station commander. And from there, you have the district commissioner and the provincial commissioner. So dockets of a province belongs to that provincial commissioner. So if even myself, when I move dockets, there is a couple of dockets I moved in Gauteng of Ket Matlala some recently. I did not pick up the phone and phone a detective and say, I want that docket now. No, I spoke to the provincial commissioner and said, well, I'm not asking him. I'm telling him, I want this docket, that docket, that docket. And then he collected them, he brought to me. And I told him, no, I want them to be investigated by this team here. And then they do so. Same happened with the investigation of the murder of witness D, right? It was investigated around the Kurleni. And I told him to say, no, I want that docket. It must come to the task team that I established to investigate the Madlanga related Madlanga Commission and ad hoc related matters. And the provincial commissioner knows where the docket is, because at any given time, he must know where his dockets are. So you don't just go and take. The fact that he's a deputy national commissioner, that doesn't grant him authority to just go and take dockets. Remember, he's executing delegated authority from me. So why could I personally still be informing the relevant provincial commissioners when I want a docket? And he doesn't inform, he just take. It doesn't work that way. You inform and you give reasons why, of course, you are removing the docket. Thank you.
Okay. On the 5th of June, the Minister Mkhunu, references a work study where task teams were mentioned. It is in paragraph 44 of his affidavit, where he says that on 5 June 2025, General Masemola, for reasons only known to him, signed this work study a year after it was presented to him. In signing the work study, he made this remark, quote, implementation of the units must be expedited, close quotes. It took General Masemola an entire year to say this one line. If the implementation of the units was supposed to be expedited, how can the decision to disband be surprising and unexpected? In fact, just after a year after the task team was formed, the SAP senior management wished to disband it in 2019. It is therefore disingenuous of General Masemola to claim that the decision to disband was sudden and unexpected.
Thanks, Honorable Chair. Well, my response to that is that, with due respect, the minister is not my subordinate. He is above me. So, work study investigations that are done, I task the people to do work study, and they compile reports for me, and I'll decide. Well, I wouldn't know each report when it was decided and why. And when I've decided, and then implementation will be done. And that implementation will be done by members under my command. It is not for minister to come down and to get to work study reports. Unless he is my deputy national commissioner, then he can do that. Or is my divisional commissioner. Maybe I have more, I don't know. But ordinarily, a minister cannot go down to that level of saying he's implementing work study investigation. Yes, I signed that, and that is for General Sibia and General Sintumule to implement, doesn't say go and disband, to implement. So if I say General Sibia expedite implementation, is he saying am I saying that when I say General Sibia expedite implementation, am I saying Minister Mkhunu expediting implementation? I didn't write that. I said General Sibia. So it's for General Sibia and his directorate to implement in liaison with me. And when you implement, you don't go and start disbanding a task team. Implement that which is being said, and you cannot implement in isolation, you implement with me. And then if there is any disbandment, that disbandment will be done by myself together with the officials, not with the minister. I think it's similar way like where the minister brought in some financial authorities of somewhere in March, even before his appointments, to come and argue about those matters. That was communication between me and General Dimpane. We write to each other, we call each other, we talk. It has got nothing to do with him. He's not my subordinate. He's above me, he's my superior.
Has it been your view, and is it still your view, that issues of implementation of any task team, including the PKTT, is an operational matter and falls within your domain of authority?
Yeah, the Honorable Chair, thanks. The implementation of be it establishment of a unit or a task team, it is an operational matter that me and the management must do. Same with the PKTT, if ever it has to be disbanded. Let's say for some reason, as he said, I think in the evidence, he relied on Patricia Mashale and Meriti Haas complaints that he had to decide to disband the team. The right thing would have been engaged with me so that we can be able to say whether there are factual reasons why that should happen. And that should have been done by me and the management, not him directing the disbandment.
Because matters of implementation typically involves money. You have to have a budget. Budget has to be approved And all this is done under the PFMA. And you are the accounting officer, isn't it?
Correct. Yes, it involves money, and hence we keep on. We were keeping on approving authorities for the task team. There was nowhere where the PKTT operated without an approved authority and or a budget. We always made sure that between me and the CFO and the project managers and all the provincial commissioner, there is approval that includes a financial authority or also an extension for the PKTT to continue working.
Now, Lieutenant General Sentumule references a meeting that was held on the 23rd of June, 2025. A meeting called by Minister Mkunu to discuss, amongst other things, the progress of the implementation of the disbandment of the PKTT. Lieutenant General Sabia, Lieutenant General Kumalo was also invited to join that meeting. You recall that meeting? What was the outcome of the meeting? Did you discuss the transfer of dockets and the conflicting directives issued by Sabia?
Yeah, no, I seems not to recall the meeting, Honorable Chair, but no, I don't seem to have a meeting like that. But the matters of PKTT were last discussed at the portfolio committee of 5th of March, 6th of March, 27 of 6th of March, 27 of March. And yeah, that's how far I remember we discussed it.
You can't recall it?
Pardon?
Sorry, General. You can't recall that meeting?
No. I can't recall that meeting.
Okay. Now, you also can't recall that at that meeting you may have disclosed some information about Matlala and his involvement in all this, and that may have been the real reason behind the disbandment of the PKTT, that there's a connection.
No. Since the discovery of the Matlala matters, I've not discussed that with the minister. I did inform him that I want to see him about PKTT, but he never made time, I remember. He never made time. We never met to discuss it until the 6th of July. That's why immediately after the 6th, we did meet. I just don't know exactly what date, but immediately after the 6th of July, we met. And when we were discussing, and then I told him that when I was calling you that I want to see you all along, I wanted to tell you some of the things that the provincial commissioner in his press briefing, he have alluded to. So he's water under the bridge now. But I wanted to see, because I wanted to inform him the discovery of these matters. And I know that meeting never came. That's why when we met after 6 July, we met on something. When we finished that meeting, then he reminded me that, by the way, you said you wanted to see me. I said, no, I wanted to see you to tell you that we discovered this thing of Matlala with PKTT and yourself and other people, and you didn't make time. So what you saw on the press briefing, that's what I wanted to tell you. So it was too late that time. So I wouldn't have met him on June to discuss the Matlala matters, because the only time after discovery, I wanted to see him, but he never made time. I only saw him a day or two after 6th of July, and we met on something. And as I left, he said, "But you said you want to see me." I said, "I wanted to see you about what you saw on the TV." And that was the end of it. Thanks.
Now, in the run up to the 6th of July and the media briefing of Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi, you did meet with him and Lieutenant General Khumalo, and I think they briefed you on what is called or described as Project Q, and where the name of Vusi Matlala is mentioned as a high-profile suspect.
Yeah, no, we did meet.
That was discussed because I asked you about it because a witness by the name of O'Sullivan made much of the fact that you had met almost clandestinely with Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi and Lieutenant General Khumalo before the 6th.
Through you, Honorable Chair, we didn't meet clandestinely.
Yeah,
we
that's
met at the
yeah.
college. They came to brief me, and after they briefed me, that's why I said I wanted also to brief the minister, but he wasn't available until after the 6th. So we met, they briefed me, and I said, work out the presentation. And during that course of meeting, well, he didn't have time, but President did have time. I went and briefed the president about the discovery, but president was on his way to Brazil. He said, when I come back, come with full report. And then I left. Then yes, we met because they had to work on the presentation, because I said, explain this thing to me. Then they came with the whole analysis of what exactly happened. And thereafter, I said, well, bring that report, then that's the report that I'm going to present to the president. And that time, the PKTT work has never been reported for quite long, since the minister's appointment was never reported to the public as it was used to be done before. And then Mkhwanazi says, no, I want to talk about about PKTT to the people of KZN, which I said, I've got no problem doing that, but just leave my part for the president. But unfortunately, everything was out. And thereafter then, that's when a day or two I met with the minister, as I said, and we discussed other things. And then that's why he asked me, but you wanted to see me. I said, I wanted to see you about what we have seen on TV. So we didn't meet clandestinely. We don't meet clandestinely. How can commanders of the police meet clandestinely?
In fact,
we met at the college. They briefed me with what they have.
You deposed to an affidavit on the 4th of July, where you say in paragraph 8 of that affidavit, I was briefed by the team about the content of the cellular phone which was confiscated from Vusi Matlala, a high-profile suspect on Project Q. On this device, the team discovered a conversation between Mr. Brown Mokgotsi, close associate of Minister Senzo Mchunu, and Vusi Matlala. This conversation was about the disbandment of the task team in order to prevent the arrest of Vusi Matlala, which indeed then the letter from the Minister of Police to the National Commissioner sent on the 31st of December 2024 was the final nail in the demise of the political killings task team.
Yeah, I take it that that affidavit is clandestinely, but is not clandestine. That affidavit was forwarded to General Mkonazi. He opened a case based on that affidavit after we discover this discovery. I acknowledge, yes.
So are you recording here in this paragraph what was now conveyed to you? Because we've obviously subsequently heard evidence from Mr. Mogotsi, from the minister, and also from Vusi Matlala about these WhatsApp exchanges.
Yes, the team briefed me on those WhatsApp chats and everything, and subsequently, that's why then we then one started reflecting, looking back, and we realized, but what was happening all along? It was not just actions of just ordinary disbandment of a team. Wake up one morning and decide to disband a team. This disbandment was to prevent the investigation of GC Ops in Gauteng. That's why I registered that case of defeating the ends of justice against all that are involved. That case is still under investigation.
I just want to ask you about the 6th of July, the briefing by Lieutenant General Mkonazi. So you obviously knew about it. Did you authorize it? Is that?
Yes, I authorized it. I authorized that. Remember, I said he asked to go brief on the work of PKTT. And I said, yes, proceed on that. But not on my report. Remember, I said I briefed the president before he left that, President, this is the discovery. And the president said, do you have a report? I said, no. And he said, I'm in a hurry, I'm going somewhere. Then I said, no, I'll work on the report. When you come back, I'll give you. So the team worked on that report. That's the report I was going to give president. But the PC, KZN, said he wants to talk about the PKTT work, which I said, by all means, carry on. I don't have a problem. And when that happens, it overlapped into everything else.
Yeah, that's what I want to get to, because
Yes.
the presentation, I don't know, was the presentation presented to you?
Yeah, it was presented.
Okay.
And
So-
there was somewhere where he said, no, this you will present. The rest, me, I was going to present everything to the president. And if minister did give me an ear all the time when I said I want to see him, I would have presented that to him. But he didn't make that time until after the 6th of July.
So can we just understand, are you saying that what Lieutenant General Mkonazi told us, all of us, on the 6th of July, you were going to make that presentation to the president?
Yes. And I told the president before he went to Brazil that we have this discovery. He knew. And he said, when I come back, brief me.
Because the presentation, and I'm looking at it, the purpose of the presentation is to brief citizens of KwaZulu-Natal, and by extension the inhabitants of the Republic of South Africa, about the work of the Political Killings Task Team. And then it gives some background as to the formation of the task team, and also then it highlights the achievements of the Political Killings Task Team. And then it talks about the dockets, that on the 26th of March, a total of 121 case dockets were taken away from the task team as directed by Lieutenant General Sabia. This was done without the authority of the National Commissioner or the Provincial Commissioner. And the dockets are now sitting at head office. I want to get to the conclusions. Then there's a heading: infiltration of the criminal justice system. Brown Mogotsi I think we've been through some of these WhatsApps. The presentation on the 5th of March. There's a reference to the murder of Mr. Swat, a QTech employee. There's a section dealing with the orchestrated demise of the political killings task team. I'll just read back the conclusion. The disbandment of the political killings task team was influenced by the sterling work that they performed in Gauteng to uncover the criminal syndicate, which involved some members of the criminal justice system operating in Gauteng province. Despite all these challenges, we acknowledge and appreciate the resilience of the members of the political killings task team. The political killings task team remains operational, albeit attempts to disrupt its work to protect and serve the inhabitants of the Republic as enshrined in Section 205 of the Constitution. A criminal investigation has been launched against all this possible infiltration and control of the criminal justice system by the organized crime syndicate. So you would have been aware that this was going to be communicated in the press conference?
No, in the press conference, you have seen that presentation start with the work of the PKTT.
Yeah.
That's how far it was going to go. But I would have taken the same presentation, go and brief the president on the infiltration of the system. And the same time, if minister did give time, he would have, I would have given him some of the things that I could, but I couldn't give him everything, of course.
Are you saying that you were surprised by some parts of the press conference or the media statement that was issued by Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi?
Yeah, well, he went overboard everything,
Yeah.
which, yeah.
Now that has happened, and there's reference to a crime syndicate, and we have heard several witnesses talk about the Big Five, and there are two names that crop up repeatedly, allegedly two of the five. Who are the other three?
Well, I know, allegedly, I know two of those five, which is two of those five, which is your Ketmatala and Katiso Molefe. I know those. The other three, even though I know them, it's not the right time to disclose names now. We are still doing investigation. We will disclose at the right time.
And that investigation being done by PKTT or crime intelligence? Or both?
That investigation is done by the GC Ops,
Gauteng.
Gauteng. Correct.
Now, we also heard the name of Mr. Msibi, late
Mr. Msibi, yes.
Now, he's late, so...
It's alleged that he was the head of the group or the cartel, you can call it.
Okay. Now, if we could just move as speedily as possible. Your relationship with Lieutenant General Sabia, that has now obviously soured, and he's been suspended by you. But he also makes some allegations against you, and that you are selective in your treatment of senior officers, You've taken action against him, but you haven't taken action against Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi. You haven't taken any action against General Musakiri regarding the macro incident.
All right, thanks. Yeah, my relationship with General Sibia is okay, it's good. We might not be talking regularly, but I don't have anything against him, and I don't think he have got anything also against me. And I don't just wake up and decide to take action against anybody. Only when there is something, I do take action. The matter of General Mkhwanazi of, what is that? I think it was Mpangeni Correctional Services and whatever. That matter, well, it was on the news and I called him. What's happening? He explained to me what happened. And I was satisfied with his explanation, the way he explained to me. I don't know whether you want me to rerun that. I can do. Yes, that the members that were working there had information or intelligence about selling of drugs at the Correctional Service Center, Kalakabusha. They had information about a specific senior official that is selling drugs. And this senior official is staying in the complex of Kalakabusha, obviously at the residential quarters. And these members went there with this information. They searched the house of the official. They found nothing. And then outside, in the dustbin, they found some drugs. And then they took those drugs and then they arrested this official. And when this incident was reported to him, he asked how it happened. They explained. Then he said, apparently, no, register your case, but don't arrest, because we might face unnecessary civil claims here, but register your case. The reason being that at a residential complex, dustbins are used communally by everybody. I'm staying at an estate myself, and my dustbin, sometime when I open it to throw rubbish, I found foreign rubbish there. Obviously, it's my next door neighbor, and I've got no problem because whatever is outside belongs to all of us. So in this case, this senior official, they found the drugs on the dustbin on the outside, and they wanted to arrest. He says, don't arrest, register your case, investigate. If you end up linking this official, then you arrest. And the officials did that, but they were not satisfied. They felt General Mkhwanazi is protecting this official. And subsequently, they made an OB, they complained, I think, to IPID and everywhere. And when that issue of the OB started flying around of the incident, this thing happened during the last administration, during Minister Kele's time. And that time already, then General Mkhwanazi phoned me and he explained to me how this thing happened. And I said, no, it's fine. I agree with you. Let them investigate. They will arrest later if they link up, because we can't say these drugs belong to this official. Indeed, they might truly be belonging to the official. It's possible. But to link it, it might not be easy. So rather investigate. If you took some DNA, go and compare. And if there is a link, then you can come back. But of course, remember your DNA also might be problematic because she also threw rubbish in that dustbin. So obviously, you will find a DNA there, but the dustbin is open for everybody. So then I was satisfied with the explanation and it was a case closed. Next administration, during Mr. Mkunu's time, this thing resurfaces again for unknown reasons. Then that's when it was between him and Mkhozi, this thing started resurfacing again. And I paid also in the picture there, and it went on. But at the end of the day, that's how this matter happened. So I didn't favor him. If there is a case, I would investigate. But here, there is nothing I can investigate. I must also say, this very same case, when IPID was busy with it, it made my work difficult at some point. Because it's a case that is still pending. I won't go into the details. Where they would remember when there was a case of Olerato killed somewhere in Gauteng, and there were some arrests made in KZN. It took me a lot of energy to convince him not to detain somebody in that case, detain somebody and not the other person. And he was saying, but if I don't detain this one, IPID is going to charge me that I don't do my work. I says, hey, currently, there is no link, Baba, that link this person to the case. Don't. He said, but do you remember Mbangeni? I says, yeah, I remember. But don't take it from me. You can quote me. You don't. So made my work difficult in that regard. But however, that's how the matter was solved. General Msikidi, the matter of Macro, yes, we saw it. She reported theft of a phone or whatever story at Macro. IPID investigated. IPID sent me a report that they think there is a case, and I appointed a investigator. The investigator have done the investigation, and the investigator concluded that there is no case. There is conflicting statements, but there is just no case in terms of misconduct against Msikidi.
Yeah.
There's nothing that I should do thereafter. And if I can venture into another one, which you didn't ask me to venture in, the issue of, I think, General Dumisani Kumalo and the other, can't remember whether there are 4 or 5, which were arrested by IDEC. That matter, we investigate. Remember, if members are involved in commission of crime, we get a report from the official that did that. And based on the report, we take the report and our disciplinary regulations, and you weigh whether is there misconduct that has happened. And you independently, of course, investigate the misconduct. And the misconduct must then be proven in terms of the regulation that yes, indeed, there is misconduct. Then we proceed. But if it can't make a misconduct, there's nothing I can do. I just have to close the file and say there's no misconduct. And if there is a criminal case pending, well, the criminal case, let it run its course. If the criminal case, it happens quite often, but if the criminal case end up finding the person guilty, then at that moment, you come back, you charge the person that you have found guilty, and you deal with the person accordingly. Thank you.
Did you attended some parties at Sabia's place, his house?
Oh, yes, I did. I did.
How many?
I think 3 or 4 times I did attended party at his place, or not party, some it was lunches because he have got enough space. We would together, me and my senior colleagues, will club together, go there, sit and have a dinner sometime, whatever. Yes, I did.
And was Mr. Matlala and his wife also at these parties? Do you know?
Well, I didn't know him and the wife. I don't know. The first event I attended, I think, was after his appointment as a deputy. There was an event of a church service. I didn't attend. The second day, I think it was still a Thanksgiving, some sort in the evening, I attended. The only people I knew in that marquee was Major General Khan and Colonel Simelane of Crime Intelligence Soweto. That was the only people I knew. Everybody was strange. And me and the deputies we even felt uncomfortable. And I think General Sibia picked it up that we are uncomfortable because we are among strangers. And he ended up taking us and he put us somewhere else. And we sat there alone. Yes. And other events were just alone, us and him. We will just sit and enjoy. Sometime, I think once we had some guests, we went there with them. Yes. I didn't know him. He might have been there. Yes. If tomorrow he show you a photo that they have taken with me, I don't deny it. I won't deny it. I don't know him. But now I know him.
But we know that you, in June 2024, your signature would have been the last signature on the Mediclinic 24 contract. And you attended one of these parties in September of 2024. Can you recall being at that event at Sabia's place?
When was that?
September 2024.
September 2024.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you recall being at and there was also one in October 2024, which Lieutenant General Sentumile spoke about in her evidence.
Okay.
Now, I'm just asking you, there's this big contract, so there's a service, it's about the service provider and procuring sponsorships from service providers, and we spoke about, does a conflict of interest arise in that, it's in that context. So now there's this party at Sabia's place. Here's a service provider with just having been awarded a huge tender.
Remember, I didn't know the man. I wouldn't know whether he's there or he's not there. Nobody told me that he's invited, and I wouldn't know whether I was there. Which party is it? If it's the party of the child or something, no, I wasn't there. But previously, yes, I did attend some.
Were you aware, were you told, were you asked, did you approve of the approach by Lieutenant General Sentumile to Mr. Matlala to sponsor or to provide a sponsorship of gifts?
Sponsorship and gifts are approved at various levels by commanders, and 100,000 or more get approved by the divisional commissioner supply chain, but below that is the immediate commander. So Sintumule's gifts or sponsorship would be approved by General Sebia himself. But what we do, all those sponsorship, they get declared and they go to divisional commissioner supply chain. He first approve. The reason being that he is the best person can determine whether is there a conflict of interest with the sponsorship, yes or no. For example, if somebody that is or his tender is pending with us as subs, and they ask General Fannie for a sponsorship, General Fannie will not approve that. He will disapprove and will indicate that here there is a conflict of interest. That's why they go to him as head of supply chain, because he's chairperson of the PAC. But the other gifts, small, below 500, whatever, are approved by various commanders. But again, they check whether there is conflict of interest, yes or no. Service providers are not prohibited from gifts and or sponsoring. They are not prohibited. The only prohibition is if there is issues of contagious or there is, the tender is still pending. But if somebody that is already providing service, they have event is sponsoring, they will always refer it to general fund to determine if there is conflict, yes or no. But in this regard of General Sintumule, no, I didn't hear about it. But recently, after I became aware of it, because I heard General Sibiya got some fridge there.
Yes, he got a fridge.
Yes. So I'm in the process because General Sibiya's gift register is signed by me. So I asked for it. I haven't received it yet to check whether is it in there, yes or no.
Okay. So you're looking into that.
Yeah, no, I'm looking into that to check whether have we declared it, yes or no. Because I only became aware of it of late.
Mr. Magotsi had alleged that you received money from Matlala arising from the tender that was awarded to him.
Well, I'll still have opportunity to maybe get that money from him. Probably he got it, he's with him. I would love to have it. He must give me that money.
You're going to ask him for the money?
Yeah,
Magotsi.
I'm gonna ask Mokhosi to give. Maybe Mr. Matlala gave him to give me, then he didn't give me the money. But indeed, Honorable Chair, I didn't receive any money from Mr. Matlala, but I saw Mr. Mokhosi's allegation. I'll deal with it at some other forums.
He also alleges that that you and former Minister Cele, you planned or plotted to get rid of the Minister Mkunu and Lieutenant General Sibiya.
Thanks, Honorable Chair. Mr. Mkhosi must give time, place, and venue where that meeting took place. Or if we have dates, our phones will be able to indicate when did we discuss that, because I hardly speak to General Kele for very same specific reasons that one, I have a new minister, I'm working with the new minister. We hardly speak. So I don't know what he's talking about. He must back whatever allegations he's making. But I can guarantee this forum that there's nothing like that.
Now, there's been allegations that Lieutenant General Mkhonazi, Lieutenant General Kumalo, and Madondo, they do not have security clearance. And it's also referenced in the leaked IGI report. So can you perhaps just start off by telling us how does it work? Is it only senior management in SAPS that requires security clearance and vetting? Or to what level does it extend, up or down? And then how it works as briefly as possible.
Okay, thanks, Honorable Chair. As briefly as possible. As we speak, Lieutenant General Kumalo does have a security clearance, but maybe as a beginning, as an opening to that is that, well, it looks like they have been targeted, I don't know, by Mokhosi and IGI. It's not only them that don't have security clearance, it's many people. And why they target this, I don't know. But
Are you confirming that they don't have security?
No. I'm still going to come to that.
Okay.
I was just saying other people don't have. But Lieutenant General Kumalo does have security clearance. He applied for his security clearance, I think, in 2018 to crime intelligence. And I think it took 2 years to be received in head office by 2020. And they processed it. And eventually in 2022, December, they issued him with a security clearance. He have it. And it just so happened that the same December, I appointed him head of the crime intelligence. and I directed him to apply again for security clearance at the State Security Agency. And he applied, and he was then eventually issued with top security clearance from the SSA. So you have 2 security clearances. General Mkhwanazi applied for security clearance somewhere in 2012. I think I was still a Deputy National Commissioner by then. I also applied that time because that time.
But he had also been appointed as acting National Commissioner 2011-2012.
Yes,
Would he have been appointed as acting National Commissioner without security clearance?
yes. It would, yes, it would have been. It wasn't anything wrong that time because the capacity that was in crime intelligence then, you would apply, it takes years, like you just had now. I said General Khumalo applied for security clearance in 2018, and it was received in head office crime intelligence in 2020, almost 2 years, and they started working on it. And only in 2022 December, they issue a security clearance. And General Mkhwanazi applied somewhere there 2011-12 or 13. I can't have the specifics. And but I'm sure he will explain when he comes. And we applied, myself and him then. I was a Deputy National Commissioner. Actually, all the Lieutenant Generals applied, and we applied at the State Security Agency. And some did receive. Yeah, I see the first time he applied. Somewhere there, and
Can we help, because we shared this information with you yesterday. General Mkhwanazi applied in August 2012, granted May 2013, expired May 2018, applied August 2022, was polygraphed in 2023. Polygraph was finalized in April 2023, and July 2024. Still in process, still being processed.
Yeah. So the first one that he applied there in 2013 or 12, whatever you are mentioning, we all applied as Lieutenant Generals, and we never got it. Some did get, some. I know myself and him, we never got our security clearance. I got my security clearance from when I was in Limpopo. I got a copy from my head of crime intelligence then. He showed me, gave me that. That's your. He doesn't know where it's original, but there is a copy. General Mkhwanazi, the one that you talk of about that expired in that was issued in 2013 and expired in 2018. He never had it in his hand. It came and gone. He haven't seen it even today. And now he applied, yes. The processes are then finalized within crime intelligence, but he haven't yet issued. But I've since also asked that all before President issued the directive that we go to SSA, I issued the directive that last year, 2025, that all Lieutenant Generals, we should not vet them from crime intelligence. Rather, we do it by an independent body because internally it have got some issues. Hence, even me, we went to the the State Security Agency, so he applied there. So the capacity of vetting in the crime intelligence was quite limited. Well, of course, probably by design, so that they can't be able to finish the bigger chunk of the service in vetting. But we have since increased those numbers now, and I've increased the numbers in terms of employees so that they can do more. And I think last year they aimed to do something like the target was 700, and they were able to do over 800, which was good. This year, well, the performance isn't as good, but we keep increasing the numbers so that they can do a better vetting of all the environments. General Madondo, she did have.
Can I again, just because of time, you can just confirm in 1999, he was charged with the common assault. 2008, she received security clearance. The conviction was disclosed. In November 2013, security clearance expired. In 2014, reapplied. In May 2015, the conviction was expunged. In February 2019, feedback was that she must reapply for security clearance. April 2019, reapplied for security clearance via e-vetting. In November 2022, an investigation commenced. February 23, investigation completed. August 2023, polygraph test. She made a disclosure regarding the assault GBH conviction, and then the subsequent expungement of the record.
Yeah, no, thanks. Correct. You are correct, Advocate Arenze, in that.
Well, that's the
Yeah.
information that we received.
Yes, that's the information that you receive, and then at the end of the evaluation committee did not issue her with a security clearance. They recommended to the divisional commissioner that the divisional commissioner must decline the security clearance. On the other side, at the more or less same time, the divisional commissioner had also a security clearance of Major General Khan, who also applied and had there were some other matters outstanding on him, which he also disclosed, looks like at the polygraphy, during polygraphy test. And the panel recommended General Khan's security clearance. So General Khumalo saw a disjuncture in those two, because he think the one that they are recommending is the one that they're supposed to have not recommended. They should recommend that he reject it. The one that they say must decline is the one that they think they should have recommended for approval. Reason being, remember, this Madondo, the conviction of that assault happened in 1999. Junior constable, whatever. And since then, she has been promoted more than 5 times. And since then, she applied for a security clearance, and the same crime intelligence did issue her and she declares those things. Now they start holding against her. Why didn't they hold it against her the first time she applied? And the one that General Khan, which he said there were some matters outstanding about rental of his own home by allegedly by CI, which they're supposed to decline based on that they didn't decline. So he came to me to say, what do I do? I says, no, file those applications, but yes, where you have to take departmental steps, do so. But refer the 2 officials, let them go to the process de novo at SSA so that a neutral person can be able to handle that.
Now, just because we need to move quicker, certainly from our side, the minister had also referred to the IGI the matter of the procurement of property by crime. Oh, sorry.
Honorable Sangweni.
Thanks, Advocate. Thank you, Chair. No, General, before we move off this security vetting issue, you said there are many who don't have security clearance. Now, just off your generals, maybe the lieutenant generals, and if you can, the major generals, who doesn't have security clearance, and is it because it's declined or they just don't have? Thank-
The reason is some had it expired because you apply 6 months before expiry, but they apply and it doesn't come in time until what you have expire and you are waiting. Some they have applied, the process has not been finalized. And I've picked up some of the lieutenant generals which they were not cooperative in assisting the vetters in documentation, which I intervened and said, I give you time, otherwise I will take steps. And they've since started now cooperating. But some, for example, the former PC of Free State, I think her vetting was in the process and she had 2.5 months to go. And I said to the vetting people that I think rather we were going to waste our resources by doing this. Just not to invest your energy into others because she's about to go and she's now gone on pension. So that's how the situation is.
Sorry, General, so you are sitting with senior management that has no security clearance, I think is what I'm trying to check. And just so that we don't waste time, are you able to give us those different categories for us to be able to have a sense of, and when you expect all of them to be vetted? Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks very much, Honorable Chair. I can get a list in one of the breaks and then I can provide it. But for now, everyone, whether we don't have, remember, the President directed that they be done. Even those that have a valid security clearance now by crime intelligence, we are in a process now busy with the SSA. All of them, the senior managers, 800 plus, they will be vetted by crime intelligence. On top of that, I do have posts that were advertised some time ago for senior managers that we are filling those posts. So I think, 2 months ago, I said, I'm not going to appoint them or announce the appointments pending the security clearance. And they were prioritized. Those ones, we send them to go and do by SSA, even before President announced. So that process is on. So I'm not going to announce their appointment until they have the security clearance. So it's a good start. Then from there on, meaning there is no SMS member that I will appoint without security clearance. We'll have to wait for that process.
Thank you. So I hear two things from you, National Commissioner. The one is that there's been capacity constraints in terms of processing the number of applications for security clearance with INSAPs. And is your evidence that that's being addressed? And the other, just to answer them together, the other is you now make appointments pending the officer appointed or being appointed pending that security clearance. Because prior to this, it seems that from your own evidence that there are indeed senior SAPS officers who've been occupying positions where security clearance is required, is needed, but didn't have security clearance.
Yeah, that is correct, Honorable Chair. Yes, we had the capacity constraints before, which currently I'm addressing it. We have not yet have enough numbers, but in the past year or so, I gave crime intelligence, I think 600 posts, and this year they are getting another. But of course, that is not only for security clearance, it's for all various components in crime intelligence. So they will increase the numbers as we go along year by year, so that they have enough capacity to convert. Hence, I said the previous financial year, and not the immediate one, the one before, they performed well. I think they had a target of 700, and they surpassed the target for the first time, which they did well. But subsequently, this very last financial year, I think they declined a bit. So there was capacity constraint, yes. And going back then on your second question, it was not a requirement before that you must have security clearance before you become a senior manager. The requirement was that after, if you don't have, you must have, but if you don't have, you must be able to acquire it within 6 months after your appointment. In other words, you get appointed today, you are whatever rank, but then you must apply so that within 6 months you have it. But now the challenge was, people get appointed, they apply immediately, they submit, but come 6 months, they still don't have feedback. Take an example of Kumalo, applied 2018, 2020, only they start doing something, and they only finish when? 2022. So because there was capacity constraints, so hence we are addressing it, and we are changing to say, new SMS, we don't appoint you if we don't have security clearance. But those that already are there, I can't say I fire you tomorrow because you don't have, because it's not their own doing. It was the system that unfortunately caused it.
So I just want to also deal with and your response to the procurement of property by crime intelligence, which is referenced in the leaked IGI report, and explain you have appeared, you were called in by the minister, the acting minister, after he had received the IGI's report, and you also subsequently appeared before the Joint Intelligence Committee.
Yeah, thanks, the Honorable Chair. That is correct. We did appear at the Joint Standing Committee on Intelligence in February, myself with the Crime Intelligence Management as well as the Minister, to go and answer on the procurement of those properties. We did a thorough presentation to the Joint Standing Committee on Intelligence. Unfortunately, I can't go into details because it's matters that belongs there. But we did a show and tell presentation, step by step. And at the end of the presentation, the committee was satisfied in terms of what we presented to them. They were quite satisfied with that which we presented to them, that it is in order. So I'm not sure how this House is going to deal with it, with what is that side. Maybe chair to chair, I don't know, but that's how far I can go. We were with the minister and everyone was satisfied. I must say also that I never received the IGI report. Neither crime intelligence received it. That report is between the IGI's office and the minister's office. Where there is a leak, if ever there is a leak, it happened there. Whatever was in the media, that's also what we saw. But the real report, I've never seen it. Thank you.
Honorable Ngolo.
Thank you so much. I see the SC is moving away from this point. Chair, we often focus on solely the dissolution part of the directive of the 31st of December. Now, and forget about some of the issues that would have been raised there by the minister. You say you are increasing capacity at crime intelligence, and as such, you are filling vacancies. So the directive does say the filling of vacancies at crime intelligence at all levels must be halted. So does that mean you have decided to blue tick the directive? It was, you often report about how there was a disagreement on the manner in which the PKTT should be dissolved, whether immediately or through a winding down approach. So this part of the filling of vacancies, have you blue ticked it, National Commission?
Yeah, thanks, Honorable Chair. Yeah, we had some meeting. We had a meeting, I can't remember when, with Minister Mkhulu about that matter of the posts, and he explained his concerns, where he was saying, I think the main concern was about the qualification, where we were saying a degree or a diploma. And his view was, you can't say degree, diploma at the same time. You must say one thing. And we explained to him why it is that we advertise that way, because some years ago, there was no other police qualification in an university as a degree. It was only a diploma. Later, some universities started having a degree. So that was one reason. Other reasons, I think, we discussed in detail about matters of crime intelligence, and he was quite satisfied. So then we were free. We can now fill. But then the acting minister did say that let's implement transformation within crime intelligence. There is currently a draft strategy, and with that draft strategy, if it's finalized, we will be filling those posts.
But General, is there a formal withdrawal of the directive on the filling of posts?
No, there is no formal withdrawal, Honorable Chair.
Thank you, Chair.
Honorable Matthys.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning, National Commissioner. I didn't officially greet you. National Commissioner, on this issue of security clearance and lifestyle audit. So the last time you appeared here, you were very disciplined and you convinced us that you were starting immediately on that process. Has it started already? Because it's been a month now. But also just to answer the question on, you said there's a system failure. Someone has to be responsible for that system's failure. Who is it, National Commissioner? Because it's like we are appointing people in these critical positions. It's like having a water truck with no water. Okay, we understand that we have processes and we give 6 months, but the fact that the system is broken, who is ultimately responsible that we have the system broken? And you need to answer that, because someone has to take responsibility for that. Because I think at the core of our problems of crime in this country is the issue of who we are appointing in these positions. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, thanks, Honorable Chair and Honorable Matthys. How far, well, it's two systems. In terms of vetting by crime intelligence, they are still continuing. They're quite doing well, making inroads, right? What I said when I was here is that I wanted to start lifestyle audit, and that be done by the SIU. My team and SIU team have met. There were some legalities which they said they are clarified, and SIU also, they are busy prioritizing, because now it looks like it's more departments that we want help from them at the same time. So that process is still finalized. That is lifestyle audit. But subsequently then, remember the new directive now is that this vetting must now be done by the state security agency. Whether you will have, even if you have a valid security clearance by crime intelligence, you must apply to SSA. That's the directive of the president. So that process, my team and SSA team are busy. They are briefing the SMSs, doing paperwork, and then they're going to redo the vetting. But on the SIU lifestyle audit, unfortunately, we are still at that administrative process. They haven't finalized, but that's going to happen, the lifestyle audit part. And in terms of systems failure, well, is a question of the forefathers. Because I think it's for the first time now that one is increasing the capacity of the vetting officials. They've been small all the time. They've been very little all the time. So it's obviously people that are not around now that you can blame. It's not somebody that is here now. Thank you.
Okay, Advocate, we can proceed.
May I proceed? I'm going to hand over in the next few minutes to my colleague, Advocate Mkhize, just to raise with you a number of allegations made by General Buma. But just before that, I'm just trying to group this again for time. Mogotsi made allegations that you were complicit in the purchase of this 22 million rand property for crime intelligence. It wasn't registered, and he then says that the 6th of July press conference was intended to stop your arrest in relation to that transaction. What is your comment? He also claimed that the PKTT task team was unlawfully housed in an hotel that was purchased on the intelligence budget. Paul O'Sullivan alleges that in 2012, when you were the acting crime intelligence head, you discovered that the slush fund, as he described it, was underspent by some 40 million rand, and you wasted no time in utilizing the unspent monies. What is your comment? Lushaba's control of the slush fund was endorsed by both you and Lieutenant General Khumalo. What is your comment? And just in terms of the operation of this so-called slush fund, is there any accounting to the Joint Committee on Intelligence and or the Auditor General?
Okay, thanks, Honorable Chair. Yeah, the issue, I think the matter around property, I've already answered on that one.
Yes.
We briefed the JCI with a show and tell sort of briefing, the procedures we followed, everything, and they are satisfied. Well, on arrest, I wouldn't know. Jose maybe is a super cop. I don't know. Maybe he know better. But what I know is that certain properties will always either be procured or rented for use of particular operations that can be dealt or done better under the Secret Service account or in the JCI. There is quite a lot of people that go out, they peddle information, they take information out from crime intelligence, throw it in the media for their ulterior motives, which one doesn't know why they do that. But some of those cases, we are investigating them, and I'm sure at some point they will be brought to account on those matters. But take it from me, the team I can cleanly say there is no procurement irregularities in those properties. Nothing at all. Actually, there is more. Even that committee realized there is more advantage, which I don't want to go deeper into that. There is more advantage to the state that happened there. But if we go next door, I'm sure we'll get the details of that. Paul O'Sullivan, I got there 2011. I spent money. Well, I think that was, well, it's him, but it was not only him. I think even the Honorable Kola Barnard also did say the same thing at some point. She did make that allegation for quite some time. But yes, I did act it there. And yes, there was money that must be used for operations and our resources for the environment. And I spent that money to purchase cars for the environment. And the unscrupulous people from that environment then went to the media and said, me and Mkonas, we spend money on luxury cars and whatever. That's not what we did. When we get to the environment, we found that there are luxury vehicles used by senior managers. And senior managers, some of them have 1 or 2 or 3 luxury high-performance vehicles for no reason. And we confiscated those cars. They were already there, purchased. We confiscated them. Some of them, we transferred them to your TRT and other specialized units to be used where they can be used best because they are high performance and quite luxurious. And then I bought cars for the environment. I mean, Toyota Corolla, Volkswagen City Golf, Hyundai Accent. If that is luxury, I wouldn't know. But we can again go next door. I'm still prepared. I'll go and get you the report of that 2011 that I purchased cars. I'll show you the list of those cars that I purchased and what I confiscated from the members. We should not keep on listening to people that they want to keep the public busy by tarnishing other people's image, whereas they want the opportunity to commit crime. So we must be careful of that. So I know, that's why I say Honorable Kola Barnard is one of those that accuse me of that. But indeed, that's not what happened. And in that environment, there is certain rules that apply in terms of when you do certain things, which I don't want to go deep, but she's a member there. She has got the right to transfer the question there. I'll answer her happily. And I'll even show her proof of everything. If I haven't done it before, I will do it still today. So I don't know what Mr. O'Sullivan wants in that environment.
That is concern.
Thank you, Chair. General, I just want to find out, on the matter of Paul O'Sullivan as well, that is he getting information from the crime intelligence or is it from IPID itself that he alleged many allegations against you in particular? That the modus operandi as well within the SAPS, in my view, it's that there's some level of serious infiltration in the top management. And I'm not sure whether if I heard you well, because this issue, as you are now narrating the issue of cars, that you purchased cars and indeed, it was for an environment and you found luxurious cars there and you had to make sure that you allocate to other deep division within SAPS. why I want clarity on that, General, is that it looks like there's element who wants to defocus us to concentrate on issues of non-importance. Why is they are committing crime? In your view, the issue of Paul O'Sullivan, are you satisfied with the way things were in the last decade or in the last few years, when you were appointed now as a National Core Commissioner?
Well, thanks, Honorable Chair. Well, I don't know what is the man's objective or what is he looking for. I see he's just making noise and I don't know the objective. Where he's getting information and whatever, I don't know. But I put Lushaba to control/fund and whatever. Lushaba is a CFO at the Secret Service account, and he's doing quite a good job for the first time in history. When Lushaba was in charge, that environment got what is not clean audit, no. Unqualified audit. But because of the nature of that environment and how things are done there, well, it couldn't be a total pure unqualified. But if you go next door again, if you can ask your messenger, she will be able to tell you they did quite well. That environment is, we do have internal audit that audits that environment. We have got the AGSA that do audit of that environment, and the Inspector General of Intelligence that also oversee that environment. Unfortunately, currently the current IGI maybe is doing some other things, whatever. I don't want to get in there because it belongs also the other side. But I don't know why Mr. O'Sullivan is obsessed with Lushaba. They did well in that environment in terms of accounting for monies from that specific environment.
No, thanks, Chair. No, General, I wanted to ask you to confirm because you keep on saying we can go that side. So now it became much more clearer when you were making references to Honorable Kola Panat and your latest response to Honorable Skosan. Because I was asking the legal team, why is the General saying maybe we can go that side? I wanted to be sure that when you are referring to that side, you are referring to matters that belong to the Joint Standing Committee on Intelligence, or you have used this interchangeably. The other side may be in relation to an information not currently with you where you are seated, which you want to make available to advocate the senior counsel Arends. Just wanted to be sure because some of the things that he was asking and the way you dealt with them, they appeared to me not as classified matters or matters of intelligence. So when you said that side, my conclusion was that, okay, something you are going to obtain maybe during lunch or something. But as the question and answer session evolves, it appears to me that that side means something else other than what I thought. So I wanted that clarity. Thanks, Chair.
No, thanks, Honorable Chair. Well, that side, I'm referring to the Joint Standing Committee on Intelligence, that one can expatiate and explain more of these things in the Joint Standing Committee of Intelligence, not in this open forum. Thank you.
We can proceed. Advocate, you said 1 o'clock. It's 1 o'clock now. Where are we?
Chairperson, can we have another 15 minutes? 30, when I round it off for 30. 13 minutes or 30 minutes.
How many minutes do you need?
30 minutes, Honorable Chair.
30. 30.
30.
Okay.
130.
Okay. Yeah, let's proceed.
Thank you. Honorable Chair, my colleague, Advocate Kezi will continue with the examination of General Masemola. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. General Masemola, Lieutenant General Vuma raised a number of allegations against you, which relate broadly to abuse of power, and she alluded as well to political interference by Minister Cele. So those are just the last two topics we are going to deal with broadly. At paragraph 17 and 96 of her statement, General Vuma said that on or about May 2022, it is alleged that you targeted and prejudiced her for executing her duties and refusing to abandon certain investigations. Particularly, you threatened her with suspension or to transfer her if she was not going to stop certain investigations. And for that, you relied on, you said, you claimed that you were under pressure from the top. Her statement basically has that in inverted commas as your direct words. Do you have any comments to this allegation?
Thanks, Honorable Chairperson. Well, I don't know what target means. I said earlier, I don't target people. I never targeted General Vuma. I'm sure it is in the public domain that around 2017, there was a matter around purchase of grabbers and Nasrec, whatever. And subsequent to that, there was a matter between the IPID and the National Commissioner and General Vuma and General Zuman. That matter went to Pretoria High Court, and where the IPID wanted certain information from them, and they were refusing with it. The Pretoria High Court, I think it was Judge Davis, ruled against them. They appealed. The appeal was dismissed, I think, by Pretoria High Court. They went Supreme Court. The Supreme Court also dismissed the case. They went to the Constitutional Court, and the Constitutional Court also, February 2022, ruled in favor of IPID, dismissing dismissing the whatever matter, but in other words, still supporting the IPID. That is February 2022. And in May, June 2022, when then I was a national commissioner, only in June, I became aware that the matter is now being finalized at the Constitutional Court, and I had to take disciplinary action. And of course, the former national commissioner is gone, the General Zuman is gone. He is the only one alone. So her suspension and disciplinary cases were prompted by that judgment of the Constitutional Court. I just did not sleep and wake up and say, 1, 2, 3, General Vuma. Here is a court order if maybe chairperson would want to see it. And that's how the matter evolved. And subsequent to that, in the same year, around July, August, there was a SIU report that came, which also implicated her negatively about the purchase of PPEs. I think it's mainstream red roses something, that specific one, which again, I had to further take action. But of course, it's something we know in SAPS, it happens regularly that taking action against senior managers, which we do, yes, there is a lot of litigation across. And when I served her with a notice of suspension around June 2022, I want to say, yeah, around 2022, when I served her with a notice of intention to suspend, and I said, give me reasons why I shouldn't suspend you. And then I still remember she asked for more days to write a response. And eventually what came back as a response was a protected disclosure. And it was sent to everybody, president and everybody. And me, I didn't want a protected disclosure. I just want the reasons why I shouldn't suspend you. And I went ahead, I suspended her. Well, I don't remember what is in that disclosure, but the fact of the matter is you cannot wait when you get disciplined, then you come with a protected disclosure. Why she didn't come with it all along, long before I take action. So that is the process that I'm aware. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you, General. Whilst we are on the topic of her suspension, she also testified that, she wasn't able to provide official documents that were signed because following her suspension on the 8th of July, you, together with Brigadier Moyani and his team, raided her office and took all the documents out of her office. What is your comment to that?
Well, maybe I was lenient. I should have dealt with it at that time, because the true story is, remember that there was a notice by the Department of Labor that we vacate Telkom Tower building is not in order and so on. So we all vacated. And in the process, we, through her actually, as a deputy support, we embark on refurbishment. When she gets suspended, they were busy with the refurbishment of certain floors of the building, especially the floor where we were going to sit. So at some point in that year, then I went to, with other officials, I can remember the other person who was there, Brigadier Shila Malashela was there. We went to Telkom Towers to go and assess the progress of renovation of the floor. Our floor, including the ministry's floor. And while we are walking around on the floor, in the office of General Vuma, we found a young man, a sergeant, who was busy at a shredding machine, shredding 3 piles of document, huge, quite huge, more than a meter up, 3. He was busy. And I asked him, what are you doing? He says, no. These are some of the documents that were at former National Commissioner Stolle, so I'm shredding them. Then I said, young man, I think what you are doing might be wrong. How do you know what to shred and what not? He says, no, I don't know. I must shred all this. Then I said to Brigadier Shila Malashela, no. Young man, stop what you are doing. We are going to take the key that you are having. Then I will appoint somebody to come and assess these documents as to what is it that you can shred and what not. And subsequently, I asked Brigadier Moyani then to go through those bundles and check what needs to be kept and what can be shredded. And most of those documents were eventually taken to our registry office and filed there. A few that They gave the young man go ahead. Then later they called him, you can shred. That's where I left the matter. So I never went there to raid her office. What would be so important to raid her office? I went there to check progress. She knows very well. She deliberately just misled you. She knows very well. And you can ask that young man. I went there to check progress on the renovation of the floor. And we stumbled across this happening. And of course, I had to be concerned if everything has to be shredded or destroyed like that. Thank you.
Thank you, General. Did you find out what was the purpose of that young man shredding? So perhaps two things. Did you get to know the name of the person who was shredding these documents? Because these would have been documents, official documents of SAPS that belong to the office of a senior officer. Did you get to know who was actually shredding? Because you referred to him as a young man.
Yeah, no, I know him. It's Sergeant Dibakwani. I know him.
Okay.
The young man, yes.
So did he inform you, or did you perhaps inquire where he got the instruction from to shred these documents?
He said he got it from General Vuma.
Okay.
But they belong to the former National Commissioner, those documents.
What is your comment to that? At that point, General Vuma was suspended, so she was not at the office.
Correct.
How did you react when you found documents being shredded? Because one can almost assume that, you know, she's been suspended for something that is irregular within the work context. Was she destroying evidence? Would that not be, I mean, what is your comment to that? As a senior official, you find a junior staffer shredding documents, and besides stopping them in their tracks, how else did you react regarding to that?
Yeah, well, she was on suspension. The only thing I said, the young man mustn't take orders from those people that are on suspension. And hence I stopped him from shredding further and took over control of the room and tasked people to come and clean whatever is there, and eventually documents went to be filed.
Did you consider perhaps charging her and adding this to the charge sheet for what she would have been suspended for? Because this is a serious offense when you're
Yeah, well,
shredding documents which can form part of evidence.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, she was, well, one won't necessarily say it formed part of evidence, but these historical documents of the organization. She was on suspension then, so I never added anything thereafter.
Okay. Moving on from that, we moved on too quickly from the first question. It was actually a two-part question. You have not made a comment regarding the claim that you said you are under pressure from the top. What did you mean by that?
Well, the only top, if ever was under pressure, would have been this court order from the Constitutional Court. Other than that, there was no under pressure from the top. No, I suspended her for that. Firstly, the second suspension was relating to the Red Roses, the SIU report. So I was never under any pressure from the top at all. I must say yes, at some point, I do remember that she brought a document to me to sign off the use of implementing agents in SAPS in the building of police stations or refurbishing of police stations. And she brought a document that was written that I sign off or appoint IDT to do the work of building of police stations. And I refused to sign that document. I said, General, as long as you have IDT on that document, forget, I'm not going to sign it. There is three agents. It's IDT, it's DPSA, it's KUHA. So you are senior enough to know that you need to go through a process to come into a name of an implementing agent. You can't come and give me this. And then he says, no, but the minister said you must sign off this. I said, okay, if it's you and the minister, good luck. I'll see how you're going to implement it. Me, I'm not going to sign it. As long as you have one name there, you have to agree in principle. Yes, let's use implementing agent because we are struggling. But you must undergo a process to come to a name. And I refused her that, which I've seen that when she come here, she turned the things around.
If we can perhaps then go to that evidence specifically, it can be found at paragraph 37 of her affidavit. What she says in respect to the IDT contract, it's the Independent Development Trust, that as the implementing agency to assist the police rolling out its infrastructural development program, you warned her regarding Deputy Minister Matale, whom you suspected of having an intention to swindle monies out of the IDT project to fund the economic freedom fighters. What is your comment to that?
I never told her that. I said I will not sign ITT. She maintained that minister wants it and Minister Matale wants it. I says, good luck. I never told her all those things, but I just told her, good luck. I will not sign it. I will sign a principle, and you must go through a process to come to a specific agent. And unfortunately, it means you must, whatever process you undertake, if you end up in this route, I will say you prejudged the process. So I refuse to sign that document. And
So
I didn't say those words that she have said.
In respect, that's the question that about specifically Deputy Minister Mutale. So your response is that you never said that to her?
No, I never
Okay.
told her that.
At paragraph 40, General, this is where now she talks about signing the contract, which is what you have given evidence to. She says that on 1 July 2022 in Limpopo, you instructed her to remove a paragraph from the information note dated 10 June 2022, where she had referred to the fact that she had received the original IDT directive from Minister Cele. She also testified that she attempted to explain to you that doing so would be dishonest and that it would not be a true reflection of what happened. And your response to her was that your stubbornness is going to kill your career. What is your comment to that?
Well, some ways are normally like people. I'm sure a lot of people knows me, and you can do your own judgment whether you think I would have said that. I don't know. But the real matter is I didn't say that. The fact of the matter is she brought a document, yes, written that I sign off IDT. That's why I say maybe I was a bit lenient. I mean, senior manager of her caliber wanted me to sign off one implementing agent to go and do a building of police station without a process of identifying the agent. I says, no, I will not do it. As long that paragraph of IDT is there, I will not sign. I will sign a document that say, in principle, SAPS, we agree we are going to use implementing agents. And you go and undertake a process of bidding amongst these three and come up with one, or you can employ two, various provinces, I don't know. Then I can work with that. But I will not sign as long as that name is there. And I never said to her, if she doesn't remove IDT, I'll kill her. No. She had this name of IDT. I said, I will not sign it.
General, I don't mean to belabor this point. The point about the IDT contract, what she was coming to speak to you about was the entire contract. So she couldn't have been removing one name out of a contract that she's presenting to you. What she's saying is she prepared an information note regarding the contract and not just the specific entity that was now to be contracted. But in that information note, you were uncomfortable with Minister Cele's name being mentioned. And so you talk about her stubbornness in respect of that specific allegation, that line about
No.
Minister Cele,
No.
because you had instructed her to remove it from the information note. So the question is about that specific allegation regarding to Minister Cele.
No, my issue was this matter is something that I must decide on. And if she come with information that says a minister says use IDT, the first wrong, I said, minister can't decide for me which agent to use. Secondly, it can be him, Minister Cele, that give this directive. And thirdly, you cannot choose for me which agents to use. So I said, as long as that line and name of IDT is there, I'm not going to sign it.
Thank you, General. There is then a long list of complaints that she raised, which would have been termed under abuse of power. And it's a series of contracts. I'll just name a few for the sake of time, and you can give a broad comment over all of them. The one relates to the 2010 procurement accommodation. The other has to do with the instruction that the CFO, Lieutenant General Dimbani, regarding approval from General Vuma for the 8 million SIU urgent payment. She says she refused to sign that because the SIU project had already been initiated at that point. So she didn't quite understand why this now sudden urgent payment of 8 million, which you were requiring her to sign the letter of engagement. The other complaint relates to the investigations against Lieutenant General Jacobs, where whilst he was under investigation, you placed him as an inspectorate, and you requested her to withdraw all the charges against him. And they were, in fact, eventually all withdrawn by General Nkhoa and yourself. And then there's the one that deals with Kimberley. The Kimberley students, I think it's something 10,000. I just can't find it now. Oh, yeah. That she investigated a Project 1000 recruitment process, which was based in Kimberley. And there she put together she was able to do an interim progress report, which highlighted that there were irregularities concerning Lieutenant General Nkhoa. She says that you interfered in that one as well. So those are the list, some of the contracts that were raised in her testimony where you would have personally interfered. What is your comment on that?
Thanks, Honorable Chairperson. Firstly, the 2010 accommodation. I don't know how I come into the 2010 accommodation. I don't have much details. And what I know is that myself and her were not involved in the 2010 accommodation. I don't know why. It looks like she tracks almost everything. The master of everything. She investigates. She's a super investigator. Me and her, we are not involved there. I don't know how she comes into there. because we don't even have details. And on the 8 million rand that the CFO has to pay, yes, if the president sign a proclamation that Department X must be investigated, when SIU investigate that department, they must be paid for their investigation. There's nothing wrong with that. And we paid that 8 million. She had a problem. I don't know whether because part of the investigation of SIU was her involvement in Main Street Red Roses somewhere. I wouldn't know. But eventually we paid that 8 million, and CFO was not wrong in the payment of that 8 million. It's not me who said subs must be investigated. It's not the CFO General Dimbane that said SIU must investigate. President of the Republic signed a proclamation that investigation must be done. And once the investigation is done, you must pay them for the work they have done. So there's nothing wrong with that. And on the Jacobs investigation, I don't know. She did the investigation. I never spoke to her. I know nothing about that. Lately, when I knew about the investigation against Jacobs, which dragged for long, it was investigation, I think, on grabbers. Eventually, whatever was there, which dragged for long. Eventually, I stayed out the investigation. I withdrew the investigation because there was nothing coming out of it. It was not going to trial, not moving, and I ended up. But I never discussed this matter with her. That's why I say, looks like she's a super investigator. She's investigating everything. The 10,000 Kimberley students, that's when we were given to recruit 10,000 students. There were reports of irregularities around the 10,000. It was not about the employment of the 10,000. Well, at the end of the day, not General Vuma, Major General Matlo. We tasked her to do investigation. She did investigation. There were some irregularities that were found, but it was not HRM irregularities. It was HRD somewhere between the provinces and the training national. They will call wrong people. And there were some people that were retained at the college, which the list that left from head office going to province to call up people, wrong people rock up at the college, and some were sent back. And I think one have spent a week or so at some point. So there was no irregularities. And eventually this investigation, I can't remember whether it is finalized, but there was nothing found wrong on the HRM and or General Nkua. And she was not investigating these things. But looks like she's a super investigator. General Jacobs, yes, I'm sure she investigated that. Probably a task long before my time. But the other matters is neither here nor there. She's never, the fact that she was head of support, it doesn't mean she's an investigator of everything, 2010 accommodation, I know little, not much of it. And I doubt if she know more. Who did she investigate? Where was she by then? Thank you.
Thank you, General. Then she dealt with the second leg, which is political interference by Minister Cele. I'll also ask you, it's two questions, but I'll ask you at the same time, and you can comment at the end of my question. Lieutenant General Vuma testified that former Minister Cele is very involved in the operations of SAPS with your assistance. Mr. Brown Mogotsi also confirmed that former Minister Cele is, inverted commas, open quotes, still in control of police operations and ruling from the grave, so to speak, close quotes. He testified that you have a very close relationship with, Minister Cele has a close relationship with the Lieutenant General Khumalo, yourself, and General Mbuto of Limpopo, as well as the provincial commissioner of the Western Cape. What is your comment regarding the close relationship with Minister Cele, as well as the fact that he makes this allegation that he's ruling from the grave?
Well, yeah, thanks very much, Honorable Chair. I'm not sure that ruling from the grave, what it means. If Mr. Mokhodzi and Ovuma can give us the date, times, and places where we met Minister Cele on these matters. As I said earlier, it's on my evidence that I hardly talked to Minister Cele. The last time I spoke to him, some time ago, I think there was payment that I had to make his pension to him. And I only spoke to him that time. Since then, I don't speak to him. And I'm aware, like General Mkolasi will hardly also talk to him. And Kumalo also, they hardly speak to him. Mboto, I won't know the relationship between Mboto and General Cele, but me and them, particularly, I have a relationship with all senior officers in the subs, and I talk to them, all lieutenant generals. I talk to them. So I wouldn't know that how is he ruling from the grave? Because we are managing the police, we get directive from the current city minister, and the job is done. I don't know what they are trying to cook, but maybe because they say he's ruling from the grave, I'm sure Minister Cele will be willing, we can, but they must provide us with date, time, and place, and we can, even our mobiles, check whether have we ever spoken. And maybe in that way, they will be able to be satisfied. I don't know what will satisfy them, because Minister Cele is not interfering, is not involved in police matters now. During his time, I'm sure everybody has seen him. The only thing Minister Cele would love to talk about the work of the police as he go around. If in General Vuma's environment there was that interference, well, between the two of them, but then they didn't report to me, so I wouldn't know that. If I knew, I would have addressed it.
Thank you, General. Just going back to the suspension, you suspended General Vuma in June of 2022. But no disciplinary hearings were finalized, proceedings were finalized against her until she retired 3 years later on the 1st of February 2026. What is your comment to that?
Well, my comment, I do have a detail in terms of what happened when, but I'm sure it will be just too long, might not be, I don't know. The fact of the matter, as I said earlier, is that senior officers, they always challenge the process. Firstly, she took us to the SSBC, and the matter was heard. There was a award by the arbitrator, and we find the award to have been riddled with errors and whatever. We took the award on review. We took it on review to High Court, and there were other subsequent matters she referred to SSBC. So the trial could not even resume. And then at some point, then we had a meeting to settle to say, well, at some point, I know I even said, because we are spending a lot of money in litigation, maybe let me offer you to go. And she refused. And then we said, okay, we are going on with what we're doing now. SSBC, Labor Court, and we continued. And eventually, I think last year at some point, towards end of the year, there was a settlement between our lawyers that the trial can on. Remember she was supposed to go for a trial of, I think, Regulation 9, which is your expeditious process. And she pleaded back in that she go for straight trial. We agreed. And then that's when now the trial has to be set. We approach the state attorney to appoint people. And when the appointment eventually get made, then she goes on pension. So what is expected of one to do?
Chair, just 2 questions, and then we will conclude. General, do you share the view expressed here by Lieutenant General Kumalo, the head of our crime intelligence, that some 90% of officers in Gauteng are compromised and work for one or other of these syndicates?
Yeah, look, I'm aware that yes, there is. It's not only in Gauteng. Corruption is there in other provinces also. Gauteng might be more, but not. How do you come to the 90%? I think it's a bit of exaggeration. The 90%. There are men and women that are committed and are doing their work in that province. I know he made that statement, but I think it's a bit of maybe exaggeration. I don't think one will. How do you come to the figure? Because you need to have went the length and breadth of the province to come to that. I know the challenges we are having in Gauteng. There is multiple projects that we are having running in Gauteng that are dealing with corruption of members, but I wouldn't classify at 90. And I won't want to classify in percentages because it will be difficult for one to, at any given time, come to that conclusion.
Then just related to that, the last question, we had the media statement on the 6th of July 2025, which for some created the impression that our country is in a state of, or under a state of siege, that our whole criminal justice system has been infiltrated, involving the judiciary, the police, all arms of law enforcement. And yes, we have heard evidence here that several of top management in the police are implicated. There's evidence of some prosecutors, magistrates, but nothing concrete. Judges, 1 or 2 names. Do you also still share that, or have things changed since that dramatic announcement last year of General Mkhwanazi? Are things better? Are they improving? Thank you.
Thanks, Honorable Chair. The issue of corruption is still there. And unfortunately, to pinpoint one, you have to complete the cycle of investigation before you can say, there it is. I'm sure you have seen a couple of some arrests and takedowns that happens. But the relationship with the various arms of state, it has since improved, I must say. To give you an example, before 6th of July in Gauteng, for members of GCI Ops to have a docket to be enrolled at court, it would have caused them to travel a couple of offices of the NPA, where prosecutors will read the docket and thereafter says, go to Advocate Arendse. Arendse will read and say, go to Advocate Mkhize. So that was what was there before. Some of the things are still being investigated, so it might not be easy to say, but that was since July, that has improved. At that time, there were probably certain matters, there were probably, I wouldn't want to victimize people or expose them to threat. Few prosecutors that would assist, some wouldn't. And so there was a problem. Sure, even the current witness at Madlanga, he will still reveal more. He will tell you some of the things because I think he will tell, I don't know whether he will say it, but I know that one of the things that happened on the 6th of, he told me this, what happened on the 6th of December 2024 was that when General Khumalo and his team were planning the special task force to go and raid Matlala's house to find Jerry Bushura, there has been leakage of information during that time, which alerted Matlala, and subsequently he removed whoever was there. So that information, but I can only leave it there. We are still investigating. So that tells you, you must know that obviously the application for search warrant was done to somebody and it was signed by somebody. So it's just an indication of some of the matters that we were struggling with. But I must say, there's been big improvement since July 2025 to now.
Thank you very much, General. Thank you, Honorable Chair, honorable members.
Thank you so much. Let me thank you, honorable members, for your patience. The evidence leaders have gone beyond the time that they have requested. We are taking a break now. We'll come back at 20 minutes after 14 hours.